The large meeting room in the Galactic Military Academy buzzed with nervous energy. Cadets from dozens of different worlds sat in rows, their various forms creating a rainbow of colors and shapes. Some had scales that shimmered blue and green. Others had crystal bodies that caught the light. A few had multiple arms or eyes that moved independently. Commander Veltar stood at the front of the room. His tall reptilian body cast a long shadow across the floor. His scales were dark green today, which meant he was serious. When Veltar was serious, smart cadets paid attention. "Today we discuss your final survival test," Veltar announced. His voice carried easily through the room. "This test will determine if you graduate or repeat your training." Hyun sat in the back row with his 3 human friends. At 22, he was average height for a human but tall compared to most other species. His black hair was cut short in military style. Next to him, Nari twisted a strand of her long, dark hair around her finger. She always did this when she was nervous. June sat perfectly straight, his broad shoulders making him look like a wall. Even sitting down, he was taller than most standing aliens. His face showed no emotion, but Hyun knew his friend was listening to every word. Minho, the youngest at 20, had his tablet out and was taking notes. His fingers moved quickly across the screen. He wrote down everything, even things that seemed unimportant. "The test is simple," Veltar continued. "You will be dropped on a planet. You must survive for 7 days. You may work in teams of 4. A holographic display appeared above the commander's head. It showed a map of this part of the galaxy. Green dots marked planets that were safe for most species. Yellow dots meant some danger. Orange dots were risky. "These are your options," Veltar said, pointing at the green and yellow dots. "Choose wisely. Your life depends on it." The display changed. Now it showed planets marked in red. "These worlds are forbidden to cadets." Veltar's voice became colder. "They are death worlds. Only experienced soldiers with special equipment can survive there. Even then, many do not return." Cadet Zix, whose crystal body was normally bright white, turned gray with fear. "How many red worlds are there, sir?" 17 in this sector," Veltar replied. "But there is one more category." The display changed again. This time, a single planet appeared, marked in deep blood red. The color seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. "Class X Death World," Veltar read from his notes. "Coordinates classified. Status absolute prohibition." The room became completely silent. Even the usual background hum of the air system seemed quieter. "Our survey teams call this place the Hell Planet," Veltar continued. "Those few who survived approaching it speak of horrors beyond imagination. The gravity alone would crush most of your bones. The atmosphere burns the lungs of any species that tries to breathe it." Tikra, an insectoid cadet, clicked her mandibles nervously. "What about the wildlife, sir?" Veltar's scales turned pale. "The creatures there show no fear. They hunt in packs. They attack anything that moves. Our experts believe the entire planet is one massive death trap, designed by nature to kill everything that lands on it. The weather systems alone could level our cities," he added. "Storms that last for days. Temperature changes that would freeze or cook most life forms, and the radiation from their star." He shuddered. "Sir," asked another cadet, "why study such a place?" "Because somewhere in that nightmare life evolved," Veltar replied. "And if something could survive there, it would be the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Thankfully, our long-range scans show no signs of intelligent life. The planet appears to kill everything before it can develop." Hyun had been listening with growing confusion. Something about the commander's description bothered him. When the holographic display showed partial coordinates, his eyes widened. Those numbers looked familiar. Hyun quietly pulled out his personal tablet and checked his navigation files. His family had given him the coordinates to his home world when he joined the academy. He compared the numbers on his screen to the ones displayed at the front of the room. They matched. Hyun stared at his tablet, then at the display, then back at his tablet. He checked the numbers again, and again. There was no mistake. A small laugh escaped his lips before he could stop it. "Is something amusing, Cadet?" Commander Veltar's cold reptilian eyes fixed on Hyun. The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. Hyun stood up slowly. Around him, his 3 friends looked worried. Nari stopped twisting her hair. June's jaw tightened. Minho looked up from his tablet with wide eyes. "Sir, I think there might be an error in your classification system." The room became even quieter. Several alien cadets turned to stare at Hyun as if he had said something crazy. No one questioned Academy classifications. The Academy had been studying dangerous worlds for hundreds of years. Their systems were perfect. That is impossible, Cadet, Veltar replied. His scales shifted to dark red, which meant anger. Our xenological survey team spent decades studying this world. Every piece of data has been checked and double-checked. Sir, Hyun interrupted, his smile growing wider. I know that planet. Commander Veltar's head tilted to the side like a confused bird. Explain yourself. We call it Earth. The room exploded into chaos. Cadet Jix's crystal body turned completely black, which happened when his species experienced extreme shock. Tikra fell backward off her chair with a loud crash. Several other cadets began talking at once in their native languages. Commander Veltar stood frozen for a full 10 seconds. His scales rapidly changed colors. Red, pale, green, back to red. His mouth opened and closed without making sounds. That's impossible, he finally whispered. Humans come from a Class M world. Moderate climate, normal gravity, standard atmosphere. Sir, Nari stood up beside Hyun. Our home coordinates are public record. Anyone can look them up. Veltar's clawed hand shook as he pulled up the Academy student files on his personal device. He found Hyun's record and read the homeworld coordinates. They matched the forbidden planet exactly. This cannot be, Veltar said, his voice getting higher. The death rates, the environmental hazards, the predatory ecosystem. Oh, Minho said cheerfully. Are you talking about the Australia surveys? Yeah, that continent is pretty dangerous, but we have cities there. And theme parks, June nodded. My cousin lives in Sydney. Nice place, just don't swim in the northern waters during jellyfish season. Commander Veltar looked like he was about to faint. His scales had turned white, which meant terror. You live there? He asked. All our lives, Hyun confirmed. Born and raised. It's home. But the gravity that crushes bones, that's just normal gravity to us, Nari explained. Actually, the gravity here at the Academy feels too light. We all had to train for months just to walk properly. The atmosphere that burns we breathe oxygen, Minho said. Always have. Though I guess it might be a bit strong for some species. The deadly weather system, oh, you mean hurricanes and tornadoes? June asked. Yeah, those can be rough. But we have warning systems, and most buildings are designed to handle them. The predatory creatures that hunt in packs. Wolves are pretty rare now, Hyun said. Most of them live in protected areas. We think they're beautiful. Commander Veltar sat down heavily in his chair. His tail, which was normally held high and proud, dragged on the floor. Alert medical, he said to his assistant. I think I need to lie down. As medical personnel rushed into the room, Hyun looked at his three friends. They were all grinning now. Should we tell him about the sports we play for fun? Nari whispered. Or the food we eat? Minho added. Maybe later, June said quietly. I think we broke him enough for one day. The other cadets stared at the four humans like they were looking at monsters wearing friendly faces, which Hyun realized might not be far from the truth, at least from their perspective. The Academy's emergency medical team rushed Commander Veltar to the hospital wing. His scales had turned completely white and stayed that way. The medical scanner showed his stress levels were dangerously high. Dr. Kef, the Academy's head medical officer, had never seen a Catherian in such condition. Within an hour, every senior officer at the Academy had been called to an emergency meeting. The news spread quickly through the corridors. The humans were from the Hell planet. Yoon and his friends were asked to wait in a conference room. Through the large windows, they could see groups of alien cadets pointing at them and whispering. Some looked scared. Others seemed curious, like they were watching dangerous animals in a zoo. This is weird, Nari said, watching a group of crystalline beings hurry past their window. Why is everyone acting like we grew extra heads? Because to them we might as well have, June replied. He was looking at his tablet, reading the Academy's official files about Earth. Listen to this. Atmospheric composition deadly to 73% of known species. Gravity levels exceed safe limits for 89% of galactic life forms. Weather patterns show extreme violence previously thought impossible on life-bearing worlds. Minho laughed. They make it sound like we live inside a volcano. Some of us do, Hyun pointed out. Remember Seok's family? They live near Mount Fuji. The conference room door opened. Dr. An walked in, followed by 3 academy officers Hyun didn't recognize. Dr. An was in her 40s, with gray starting to show in her black hair. She had been teaching at the academy for 5 years, but this was the first time Hyun had seen her look confused. "Students," she said, sitting across from them. "I need you to help me understand something. The Academy's files say your homeworld is a Class X Deathworld, but that can't be right because you're all here alive and healthy." "It's right," Hyun said. "We checked the coordinates. It's definitely Earth." One of the officers, a tall being with blue skin and 4 arms, leaned forward. "Perhaps there has been some mistake. Maybe you were born on Earth but raised elsewhere." "No, sir," Nari replied. "I lived in Seoul my whole life until I came here. Same with these guys." "Seoul?" Dr. An asked. "That's a major city, isn't it?" "Yeah, about 10 million people," Minho said casually. The 4-armed officer made a choking sound. 10 million? Living on a death world? "Oh no," June corrected. "That's just Seoul. Earth has about 8 billion people total." 2 of the officers had to sit down. Dr. An pulled out her tablet and began reading from the Earth survey files. "Let me go through this systematically. Your world's gravity is listed as 9.8 meters per second squared. That would crush the bones of most species here." "That's just normal to us," Hyun said. "Actually, we feel really light here." "Want to see?" Before anyone could stop him, Hyun stood up and casually did 10 one-handed push-ups. The exercise equipment at the academy was designed for high-gravity species, but Hyun made it look easy. "The atmospheric composition shows 21% oxygen," Dr. An continued, her voice getting higher. "That's enough to cause oxygen toxicity in most species." "We need it to breathe," Nari explained. "Though I guess it might be strong for some people. We have mountain climbers who train in low-oxygen areas just for fun." "Mountain climbers?" the blue officer asked weakly. "People who climb really tall mountains," Minho said, "just because they want to. Some mountains are so high that the air is too thin to breathe, so they bring oxygen tanks. They climb into areas where they cannot breathe. For recreation? Well, the view from the top is really nice," June said. Dr. An kept reading. "The survey mentions extreme weather systems with unprecedented violence." "Oh, you mean storms?" Nari asked. "Yeah, we get some big ones. Hurricanes, tornadoes, blizzards. But we have weather prediction now, so people usually know when they're coming." "Usually?" "Sometimes storms change direction," Hyun admitted. "But most buildings are designed to handle them. And people have emergency supplies." "What kind of emergency supplies?" Dr. An asked, though she looked like she wasn't sure she wanted to know. "Food, water, medical stuff," Minho listed. "Flashlights, batteries, sometimes generators. My family has a whole closet full of emergency gear." "Your family prepares for these weather disasters regularly?" "Everyone does," June said. "It's just common sense. You never know when a storm might hit." The 3rd officer, who had been quiet until now, finally spoke. She was a member of the tentacled ocean species, and her voice bubbled like she was speaking underwater. "The wildlife reports mention apex predators showing no fear of superior threats." "Superior threats?" Nari asked. "You mean like humans?" "Your species would be considered an apex predator on most worlds," the officer explained. Nari's eyes lit up. "Oh, you mean like sharks and bears and stuff?" "Yeah, they're amazing. I love sharks. They're so beautiful and perfect. I swam with some when I was on vacation last year." All 3 officers stared at her. "You swam? With predators?" Dr. An asked slowly. "Great whites," Nari said proudly, pulling out her phone to show pictures. "Look, this one came right up to the cage. You can see its teeth. Aren't they gorgeous?" The blue officer looked at the photo and immediately covered his eyes. "That creature could bite you in half." "Well, yeah, if it wanted to," Nari agreed. "But they usually don't attack humans. We're not their normal food." "Usually don't attack?" "Shark attacks are super rare," Hyun explained. "You're more likely to be hit by lightning." "Lightning?" Dr. An's voice cracked. "Electrical storms," Minho said helpfully. "Sometimes the sky shoots electricity at the ground. It's really cool to watch." "You watch electrical attacks from your sky?" "From inside," June clarified. "We're not stupid." Dr. An put her head in her hands. "Let me see if I understand this. You live on a world with crushing gravity, toxic air, violent weather, electrical attacks from the sky, and predators that could kill you, and you consider this normal." "It's home," Hyun said simply. "But how do you survive?" Same way anyone survives anywhere, Nari said. You learn what's dangerous and how to avoid it. You prepare for problems. You help each other. And if something goes wrong, you deal with it, June said. What else can you do? The tentacled officer was typing rapidly on her device. I'm looking at Earth's natural disaster records. It says here that your planet experiences thousands of earthquakes every year. Most of them are too small to feel, Minho said. The big ones are rare. Define rare. Maybe 1 or 2 big ones every few years? Depends on where you live. And what do you do when your planet shakes violently? Drop cover and hold on, all 4 humans said at the same time. It's something we learn as kids, Hyun explained. When the ground starts shaking, you get under something strong and wait for it to stop. You teach your children how to survive planetary attacks. We teach them how to be safe, Nari corrected. Same as teaching them to look both ways before crossing a street? Dr. An stood up slowly. I need to make some calls. The Academy's classification system may need adjustment. As the officers filed out, the 4 humans could hear them talking in the hallway. 8 billion of them. They swim with predators for fun. The children are trained for planetary disasters. Maybe we should reclassify the entire species. After they left, the 4 friends sat in silence for a moment. Are we really that weird? Nari asked. Apparently, June said. Cool, said Minho. Hyun looked out the window at the alien cadets still gathering to stare at them. I think we're going to be famous. Famous for being from a Deathworld, Nari said. That's definitely going on my resume. Outside, Commander Veltar was being wheeled past on a medical transport. His scales were still white, and he was muttering something about impossible survival rates and reclassification protocols. Should we feel bad about breaking our commander? Minho asked. He'll be fine, June said. Humans are tough. Catherians probably are too. He's not human, Hyun pointed out. No, June agreed. But he's tougher than he thinks. He'll figure it out. Through the window, they watched more Academy staff hurrying toward the administrative building. Everyone looked worried or confused or both. Tomorrow's going to be interesting, Nari said. She had no idea how right she was. 3 days later, the Academy's high command made a decision that had never been made before in galactic history. They were going to visit the Hell Planet. If the humans claimed it wasn't dangerous, they would prove it one way or another. The expedition ship Scientific Truth was the Academy's most advanced vessel. It had shields that could protect against radiation, atmospheric processors that could create safe air, and medical facilities that could handle any emergency. The crew included Commander Veltar, who had recovered enough to insist on coming, Dr. An, 3 other Academy officers, and the 4 human cadets. As they approached Earth, the ship's computers began screaming. Warnings. Radiation levels from the local star are extreme, announced the ship's AI in a calm voice that somehow made the warning sound worse. Gravity readings are off the scale, added Lieutenant Cax, the ship's science officer. Atmospheric composition shows toxic levels of oxygen and nitrogen, reported the medical scanner. Commander Veltar, whose scales had finally returned to their normal green color, began turning pale again. Are you absolutely certain this is safe? Hyun looked at the readings and shrugged. Looks normal to me. Want to start somewhere easy? Easy? Veltar's voice cracked. Seoul? Nari suggested. It's a nice city. Very civilized. Good food. And if these readings are wrong and we die? Asked Dr. Kex, a crystalline being whose body was flickering between clear and dark gray. Then you die, June said matter-of-factly. But you won't. These readings are normal for Earth. The ship touched down in a public park in the middle of Seoul. It was spring, and the cherry trees were blooming. Families were having picnics on the grass. Children were playing on playground equipment. Elderly people were practicing Tai Chi near a small pond. The alien crew members put on full environmental suits before leaving the ship. The suits had their own air supply, radiation shielding, and gravity compensation. They looked like they were prepared to explore the inside of a star. The 4 humans walked out wearing normal Academy uniforms. The atmospheric readings are still showing toxic levels, Veltar said through his suit's speaker. That's just air, Hyun replied, taking a deep breath. Smells like spring. A jogger ran past them, wearing shorts and a t-shirt, breathing heavily from exercise. The alien medical scanners immediately began tracking him. That creature appears to be in respiratory distress, Dr. Kex announced. He's just jogging, Nari explained. It's exercise. People run to stay healthy. He's forcing his body into oxygen debt for health? Exercise makes your heart and lungs stronger, Minho said. Most humans do some kind of exercise regularly. They watched as more joggers ran past. Then a group of cyclists. Then an elderly woman walking a small dog. What is that creature? Veltar asked, pointing at the dog. The Academy scanner immediately identified it as a canine. Species classification: pack hunter. Potential threat level: moderate. Recommend maintaining safe distance. The elderly woman saw them staring and walked over with a friendly smile. She said something in Korean and Nari laughed. She wants to know if we're filming a movie, Nari translated. She thinks your environmental suits look like space costumes. Tell her we're visitors from the Academy, Dr. An suggested. Nari spoke to the woman in Korean. The woman's eyes lit up and she bowed politely. Then she held up her dog. She wants you to meet Bomi, Nari said. Her name means spring in Korean. The alien's threat assessment systems immediately started flashing red warnings. She's bringing the predator closer, Feltar whispered. It's a pet, Hyun explained. Humans keep dogs as companions. They live in our houses and are part of our families. You domesticate pack hunters? We domesticated them thousands of years ago, June said. Dogs help us with work, protect our homes, and provide companionship. The elderly woman was now holding the small dog out toward them. The dog's tail was wagging and it was making small happy sounds. It's making threat displays, Dr. Keck said nervously. That's not threatening, Nari laughed. Bomi wants pets. She likes meeting new people. Before anyone could stop her, Nari reached out and scratched behind the dog's ears. The dog immediately relaxed and made contented sounds. You're touching a predator, Veltar said in horror. She's a good girl, Nari cooed, using the baby voice humans always used with pets. Yes, you are. You're such a good girl. The elderly woman smiled and spoke to Nari again. She says Bomi likes us, Nari translated. She wants to know if we'd like to see her do tricks. The predator performs learned behaviors? Dr. Kex asked. Dogs are smart, Minho explained. We teach them to sit, stay, come when called, fetch things. Some dogs can learn hundreds of commands. The woman put Bomi down and said something. The dog immediately sat and looked at her expectantly. She said something else, and the dog lay down. Then she said a third command, and the dog rolled over. Incredible, Veltar breathed. An apex predator following complex commands. She's not an apex predator, Hyun said. She's a pet. A family member. The woman reached into her bag and pulled out a small treat. She threw it and Bomi caught it in the air. She just fed the predator, Dr. Keck said weakly. That's how you take care of pets, Nari explained. You feed them, give them water, make sure they're healthy and happy. You care for the emotional state of predators? Of course, all four humans said together. A food truck was parked near the playground. The smell of cooking meat filled the air and Hyun's stomach rumbled. Anyone hungry? He asked. Korean barbecue is amazing. Is that safe to consume? Feltar asked. It's delicious, Nari said, already walking toward the truck. The food truck owner smiled when he saw them coming. He said something to Nari, who laughed and replied in Korean. He wants to know what our friends would like to eat, she translated, pointing at the aliens. I told him they're on a special diet. What are you getting? Dr. An asked. Bulgogi with extra gochujang, Minho said. And some kimchi. The aliens' chemical scanners immediately began analyzing the air around the food truck. Warning, announced the scanner, detecting high levels of capsaicin and other chemical irritants. That's just the spices, June explained. Koreans like spicy food. Chemical irritants are not food, Dr. Keck said. These are, Hyun said, accepting a container of bulgogi from the vendor. Want to try some? Absolutely not, Veltar said quickly. Minho took a large bite of his food and smiled. Perfect amount of heat. The alien medical scanners detected what they classified as mild poisoning. You're consuming toxins, Dr. Keck said in alarm. I'm eating lunch, Minho replied. Taking another bite, a group of children ran past, chasing a ball. They were laughing and shouting, pushing each other playfully. Are those juveniles engaged in combat? Feltar asked. They're playing, Nari said. Kids play games. It's how they learn and have fun. They watched as one child fell down, skinned his knee, started crying, got helped up by his friends, and then continued playing. The injured juvenile is continuing physical activity despite tissue damage, Dr. Kex observed. It's just a scraped knee, Hyun said. Kids are tough. They heal fast. Your juveniles are designed for rapid healing. All humans heal pretty quickly, June said. Cuts, bruises, broken bones. We're good at fixing damage. A playground monitor came over to check on the child who had fallen. She cleaned the scrape with a wipe and put a small bandage on it. The child thanked her and ran back to his friends. Medical treatment in the field, Veltar noted. Your society is prepared for constant injury. We're prepared for accidents, Dr. Ahn corrected. Children play hard. Sometimes they get hurt. It's normal. Normal. Veltar repeated the word like he was trying to understand what it meant. An airplane flew overhead, leaving a white trail across the blue sky. The aliens looked up in panic. Incoming aircraft, Dr. Kex announced. It's just a passenger plane, Nari said, shading her eyes to look up at it. Probably going to Incheon Airport. Your species uses atmospheric flight for transportation? How else would you travel long distances quickly? Minyo asked. That plane probably has 300 people on it going somewhere for business or vacation. You put 300 individuals in a metal container and launch them through the toxic atmosphere. It's not toxic to us, Hyun reminded them. And planes are very safe. Millions of people fly every day? Millions? Flying is one of the safest ways to travel, June added. Much safer than driving. Driving? Dr. Ahn pointed to the street where cars were moving past. Ground vehicles. Most families own at least one. The aliens watched the traffic in fascination and growing horror. They're traveling at high speed in individual metal containers, Veltar observed. Usually about 60 kilometers per hour in the city, Nari said. Faster on highways, and this is normal. Daily life, Hyun confirmed. Commander Veltar's scales were starting to turn pale again. I think I need to sit down. There's a bench over there, Minho pointed helpfully. As they walked toward the bench, passing playing children, jogging humans, people eating spicy food, and pet dogs, Veltar began to understand something important. This wasn't a death world where humans somehow survived despite the dangers. This was a world where humans thrived because they had adapted to handle anything their planet could throw at them, and that, he realized, made them far more dangerous than any predator. The expedition team spent the next 2 days exploring different parts of Earth. Each location brought new horrors for the alien observers and casual normalcy for the humans. Their second stop was an elementary school in Seoul. Principal Kim, a cheerful woman in her 50s, gave them a tour while classes were in session. The alien crew members had agreed to remove their environmental suits after seeing thousands of humans breathing the air without dying. But they kept their medical scanners running. This is our playground, Principal Kim explained through Nari's translation. Dr. Kex stared at the equipment in disbelief. Those structures appear to be designed for falling. Kids love the monkey bars, Nari said, watching a group of 7-year-olds swinging across them. It builds arm strength. Your juveniles deliberately hang from elevated structures? It's fun, Minho explained. All kids do it. They watched as a child missed a bar and fell onto the rubber matting below. He got up, brushed himself off, and climbed back up to try again. The juvenile immediately returned to the danger zone after injury, Veltar noted. His scales cycling through confused colors. He didn't get hurt, Hyun pointed out. The fall was only about a meter and there's safety padding. You design your recreational activities to include controlled falling? We design them to be challenging but safe, Dr. Ahn corrected. Children need to learn how to take reasonable risks. In the gymnasium, they observed a physical education class. The children were playing dodgeball, throwing soft rubber balls at each other while trying not to get hit. They're engaging in combat training, Dr. Kex whispered. They're playing a game, June said. It teaches quick reflexes and teamwork. By attacking each other with projectiles. Soft projectiles, Nari emphasized. It doesn't hurt. Look how much fun they're having. The children were indeed laughing and cheering, even when they got hit and had to sit out for a round. Your juveniles find simulated combat entertaining, Veltar observed. Most games involve some kind of competition, Minho said. Sports, board games, video games. Humans like challenges. Their third stop was Seoul National University Hospital. Dr. Lee, the chief of trauma surgery, met them in the emergency department. The aliens' medical scanners immediately began detecting what they classified as widespread injury and distress. Busy day? Dr. An asked in Korean. Pretty normal, Dr. Lee replied. Car accident, a hiking injury, someone who fell off their bike. Nothing too serious. You consider vehicular collisions and falling injuries normal? Dr. Kex asked. Accidents happen, Dr. Lee said simply. People live active lives. Sometimes they get hurt. Dr. Lee showed them to an observation area where they could watch him work. The current patient was a motorcycle rider who had skidded on wet pavement. He had broken ribs and a mild concussion. Will he survive? Feltar asked, watching the medical team work. Of course, Dr. Lee said, checking the patient's x-rays. Broken ribs heal in about 6 weeks. He'll be back to work in a few days. He will return to dangerous activities while still healing. Probably, Dr. Lee shrugged. Though I'll tell him to be more careful on wet roads. The aliens watched in amazement as Dr. Lee casually reset a broken bone, stitched up cuts, and treated injuries that would be fatal to most species. Your medical procedures are extremely violent, Dr. Kex observed. Sometimes you have to cause a little pain to fix a bigger problem, Dr. Lee explained. But we use anesthesia for surgery and pain medication for recovery. You deliberately inflict damage to promote healing? We fix what's broken, Dr. An said. Humans are good at healing. Our bodies are designed to repair themselves. Their fourth stop was a high school rugby match. The alien observers stood on the sidelines while 16-year-old humans deliberately crashed into each other at full speed, fighting over an oval ball. This is recreational violence, Veltar said weakly, watching a player get tackled hard and immediately stand up to continue playing. This is Tuesday afternoon sports, June corrected. My nephew plays on this team. Your family members voluntarily participate in physical combat? It builds character, June said, cheering as his nephew made a good play. Teamwork, strategy, physical fitness, mental toughness. A player got a bloody nose from a collision but refused to leave the game. The coach gave him a tissue and told him to keep playing. The injured warrior continues fighting, Dr. Kex noted. It's just a bloody nose, Nari said. He's fine. Your species considers bleeding acceptable during recreation? Rugby's a contact sport, Minho explained. Everyone knows there's a risk of minor injuries. If you can't handle that, you don't play. But why do they choose to play? Because it's fun, all 4 humans said together. The final revelation came when they visited June's family farm in the mountains outside Seoul. His grandmother, Mrs. Park, was 78 years old and weighed maybe 50 kilograms. She greeted them at the door with a warm smile and invited them in for tea. The farmhouse was simple but comfortable. Mrs. Park had lived there for 50 years, mostly alone since her husband died. She grew vegetables, kept chickens, and maintained the property by herself. Your elder lives in isolation in dangerous terrain? Feltar asked. The mountains aren't dangerous if you know what you're doing, June said. Grandmother has been hiking these trails since she was young. Mrs. Park served them tea and cookies, chatting happily with Dr. An in Korean. Suddenly, she mentioned something that made Dr. An's eyes widen. What did she say? Hyun asked. She fought off a wild boar last week, Dr. An said slowly, with a garden hoe. The alien stared at the tiny elderly woman who was cheerfully pouring tea. She defeated a territorial megafauna with a farming implement. Dr. Kex's crystal body flickered rapidly between colors. It was eating her vegetables, Dr. An translated. She couldn't let that happen. The creature was stealing resources, so she engaged it in single combat. Boars are pests, June explained. They destroy crops. Grandmother has been dealing with them for decades. Your elders are trained warriors? They're farmers, Nari said. Farming is hard work. You have to be tough. Mrs. Park brought out photo albums showing June as a child. There were pictures of him climbing trees, swimming in the river, helping with farm work, and hiking in the mountains. Your juveniles are trained in wilderness survival? Feltar asked. Kids grow up learning about their environment, Minho said. How to be safe, how to help with work, how to take care of themselves. But these activities appear extremely hazardous. Life is hazardous, June said simply. You learn to handle it. That evening, as they prepared to return to the ship, Minho showed them his tablet. He had pulled up Earth's history files. Want to see what humans have survived? He asked. The timeline showed ice ages, asteroid impacts, supervolcanic eruptions, plagues, wars, and natural disasters. Through it all, the human population had not only survived but grown. Your species has faced planetary extinction events multiple times, Dr. Keck said, reading the data. 5 major ones that we know of, Minho confirmed, plus smaller disasters. Earthquakes, tsunamis, hurricanes, droughts, floods. And you survived all of them? We adapted, Hyun said. We learned. We got stronger. Each challenge made you more dangerous? Each challenge made us more resilient, Dr. Ahn corrected. Humans don't just survive disasters. We learn from them. We prepare for the next one. We help each other through them. Veltar looked at the 4 young humans who had been his students. They were the same people they had been a week ago, but now he saw them differently. They weren't just cadets from another world. They were the products of a planet that had spent millions of years testing every living thing on it. And humans had not only passed every test but asked for harder ones. I think I understand now, he said quietly. Understand what? Nari asked. Why your world is classified as a death world, Veltar said. It's not because nothing can survive there. It's because anything that does survive there becomes something the rest of the galaxy should fear. We're not scary, Nari protested. Veltar thought about her swimming with sharks, about June's grandmother fighting wild boars, about children playing on equipment designed for controlled falling, about millions of humans flying through the atmosphere in metal containers, about teenagers engaging in recreational combat, about people eating chemical irritants for pleasure. Yes, he said softly, you are. But as he watched them laugh and joke with each other, sharing stories about their strange, wonderful, terrifying home, he realized something else. They were also the most remarkable people he had ever met. And if they could survive Earth, they could survive anywhere. When the expedition ship Scientific Truth returned to the Academy, news of their discoveries had already spread throughout the galaxy. The communication logs from their Earth visit had been studied by every major government and scientific institution. Within hours of their return, representatives from dozens of worlds were requesting emergency meetings. The Academy's main auditorium was packed beyond capacity. Students, faculty, government officials, and scientists filled every seat. Additional viewing screens had been set up in overflow rooms. Some beings had traveled from across the galaxy just to hear the official report. Commander Veltar stood at the podium, his scales a steady deep blue that indicated serious concentration. Behind him, a massive holographic display showed the Academy's new classification system. After extensive review and field testing, Veltar announced, his voice carrying clearly through the packed auditorium, planet Earth has been reclassified. The display changed, showing Earth's new designation, Class H Human Homeworld, approach with extreme caution. This represents a new classification category, Veltar continued, created specifically for worlds that produce spacefaring species, despite environmental conditions that would be fatal to most galactic life. A representative from the crystalline worlds raised a shining arm. Commander, what does this mean for human integration into galactic society? It means, Veltar said carefully, that we need to revise our understanding of what constitutes normal behavior. Dr. Ahn stepped forward to join Veltar at the podium. The Academy is implementing new mandatory courses for all cadets. The first is called Human Psychology and Survival Instincts. The display showed the course outline. The first lesson was titled, Why Humans Say Hold My Beer Before Doing Something Dangerous. Other topics include pack bonding, how humans form emotional attachments to predators, recreational risk-taking as cultural norm, and understanding human pain tolerance. Dr. Ahn continued. A nervous murmur ran through the crowd. Will these courses be optional? Asked a representative from the Peaceful Garden Worlds. Mandatory for all cadets, Veltar replied firmly. Understanding human behavior is now considered essential for galactic safety. Hyun, Nari, Jun, and Minho sat in the front row, watching their lives become an academic subject. Around them, alien cadets stared with mixtures of fear, respect, and curiosity. Are there any questions about the new classification? Veltar asked. Dozens of hands, tentacles, and appendages shot up. Yes, Ambassador Kulin from the Peaceful Worlds. Commander, should we be concerned about human expansion into other systems? Humans appear to be naturally helpful, Dr. Ahn replied. They form protective relationships with other species. However, they also have no natural fear of dangerous situations. What does that mean practically? It means, Veltar said slowly, that if you are in danger, humans will help you, but they will do so using methods that may terrify you. The representative from the crystal world spoke up. Could you provide an example? Veltar looked at the 4 human cadets. Cadet Nari, would you explain how humans respond to water emergencies? Nari stood up, slightly embarrassed by the attention. Well, if someone is drowning, you jump in and pull them out. Even if the water is dangerous? Especially if the water is dangerous, Nari said. That's why they're drowning. What if you cannot swim well yourself? Then you throw them something that floats or call for help or find a boat. You don't just watch someone drown, even at risk to your own life, of course. A shocked silence filled the auditorium. This is what we mean, Veltar explained. Humans will risk their own safety to help others, even strangers. This makes them simultaneously the most dangerous and most valuable allies in the galaxy. Commander, asked a voice from the back. What about human military capabilities? Veltar's scales shifted to a darker blue. Humans are currently classified as a peaceful species. However, their homeworld training suggests they would be extremely effective in combat if necessary. How effective? They play war games for entertainment, Dr. On said. Their children learn strategic thinking through competitive sports. Their recreational activities include simulated combat, endurance challenges, and voluntary exposure to dangerous conditions. You're saying they train for war accidentally? We're saying they train for survival constantly, Veltar corrected, and survival skills transfer to other applications. The questions continued for 2 hours. By the end, the alien representatives looked overwhelmed, confused, and slightly worried. After the formal session ended, smaller groups gathered to discuss the implications. Yun overheard fragments of conversations. Should we establish formal relations? Is potential military alliance gone cultural exchange programs, but carefully managed? Warning protocols for human-inhabited systems. 3 months later, the Academy had completely restructured its curriculum. The new Earth Standard Survival course was reserved for the most elite cadets, and even then, only those who passed extensive psychological evaluations. The human cadets, meanwhile, were enrolled in a new advanced program called Galactic Exploration, Extreme Environments. The course description read, for species with demonstrated ability to survive in hostile conditions. Prerequisites, homeworld classification of Class G or higher. Hyun and his friends were the only students in the program. This is weird, Nari said, looking around their empty classroom. Are we really that unusual? Apparently, Minho replied, reading the course materials. Listen to this assignment. Design a survival strategy for a Class Y volcanic world with acid rain and predatory rock formations. Sounds like fun, June said. Their instructor, Dr. Kef, was a veteran explorer who had survived expeditions to some of the galaxy's most dangerous worlds. He looked at his 4 human students with a mixture of professional respect and personal bewilderment. Your first assignment, he announced, is to evaluate the attached planetary survey data and determine if the world is suitable for colonization. He handed them tablets containing information about a planet with extreme temperature variations, toxic gas pockets, and aggressive native fauna. Hyun skimmed through the data. Looks challenging but manageable. We'd need protective gear for the gas pockets, and the temperature swings aren't too bad if you dress in layers. The native fauna appears hostile, Dr. Kef pointed out. Everything's hostile until you understand it, Nari said. Most animals just want to be left alone. What about the seismic activity? Build earthquake-resistant structures, Minho suggested. Same as we do on Earth. And the seasonal storms? Weather tracking and emergency shelters, June said. Standard protocol. Dr. Kef stared at them. You just classified a Class X Deathworld as challenging but manageable. Is it really Class X? Hyun asked, looking at the data again. The gravity's only 1.2 Earth standard, and the atmosphere's breathable with minor filtration. The previous survey team classified it as unsurvivable. What species were they? Nari asked, crystalline collective. Oh well, there's your problem, Minho said. Crystal-based life forms can't handle temperature variations or seismic activity. They'd shatter, but humans could survive there? With proper preparation, June confirmed. It wouldn't be comfortable, but it's doable. Dr. Kef made a note in his files. I'm going to recommend reclassification to Class H. What's Class H? Hyun asked. Livable for humans, unsurvivable for everyone else. 6 months after the Earth expedition, Hyun received a special commendation at graduation. The award read, "For diplomatic service in redefining galactic species relations and accidentally terrifying the entire Academy faculty." During the graduation ceremony, the Academy's new motto was unveiled. Per aspera ad astra, through hardships to the stars. Below it, in smaller text, was a note, human proverb. They have many of these. All are mildly terrifying. As the 4 human friends prepared to receive their assignments as graduating cadets, they noticed the other students still gave them a wide berth, but the looks had changed from fear to something more like awe. "Where are you all going?" Nari asked, looking at their assignment papers. "Deep space exploration," Hyun said. "Uncharted systems. Hostile environment research," Jun replied. "Xenobiology field studies," Nari added. "Advanced terraforming," Minho finished. "They're sending us to all the dangerous places," Hyun observed. "Makes sense," Jun said. "We're good at dangerous places." "Think we'll see each other again?" Nari asked. "Probably," Minho said. "The galaxy's big, but we tend to end up wherever things are interesting." "Interesting is one word for it," Hyun laughed. As they walked toward the shuttle bay to begin their new assignments, they passed a group of first-year cadets studying for their Introduction to Human Behavior exam. Question 12. One cadet read aloud. "Why do humans sing when facing death? A, religious ritual. B, psychological defense mechanism. C, communication with pack members. D, all of the above." "All of the above," his study partner replied. "It's always all of the above with humans." The 4 friends exchanged grins. "Ready to show the galaxy what humans can do?" Hyun asked. "We've been doing that all our lives," Nari replied. "We just didn't know everyone was watching." As their shuttles launched toward different corners of the galaxy, carrying the first human graduates in Academy history, the aliens who remained behind began updating their databases.